Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am James Russo A. Taga, an Instructor 1 from Bukidnon State University. I am currently taking up Doctor of Philosophy and Educational Administration. Today, I'll be presenting my study entitled The Effects of Video Lessons to the Academic Achievement and Motivation in Teaching, Understanding Culture, Society, and Politics. Allow me to begin my presentation by giving you the rationale of the study. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought drastic changes to the world. The pandemic has affected the teaching and learning process, on which there is a total shift from face to face classes to full distance education. Hence, there is a need for supplemental learning materials for the learners. There are also identified least mastered competencies, especially in the subject understanding culture, society, and politics. Now, the creation of video lessons as an alternative learning material might help increase in the academic achievement and motivation of learners in the said subject. This study is deeply anchored in the cognitive theory of multimedia learning by Mayer and also from Ausubel's meaningful learning theory and the critical attribute of 21st century education, which is on digital literacies from Simeo Inotech. In this slide, I will be presenting to you the schematic diagram of the study. On the first box, you can see the independent variable. The independent variable is a teaching approach. Now, the experimental group will be exposed to video lessons, while the control group will be exposed to the K to 12 modules. The learning topics that will be used in the study will be becoming a member of the society, how society is organized, and cultural, social, and political organizations. On the second box, you can see the dependent variable. These are the learner's academic achievement and motivation in the subject understanding culture, society, and politics. In this slide, I'll be presenting to you the methodology of the study. First is the research design. This study used a quasi-experimental pre-test post-test design. Second, the research locale is in Bangkod National High School. And the third one, the participants of the study are two heterogeneous classes, which serves as a control and experimental group. In the development of the lessons, the researcher has strictly followed these three stages or phases. The first one is a pre-development. Now, in the pre-development of lesson, the researchers prepared a task analysis matrix or TAM, which serves as a blueprint in the development of the video lessons. On the development stage, the researchers strictly followed the different rules in multimedia so that it can create a comprehensive video lesson. On the post-development of lesson, the researcher subjected the video lessons to the validation of experts. In the research instrument and data gathering methods, a researcher made academic achievement test was used and an adapted motivation scale was also used in the study. For the data analysis and scoring procedure, mean, standard deviation, analysis of covariance, and independent t-test was used. In the procedural framework of the study, we can also observe there that the two groups, which is a control and experimental groups, were first oriented, and after the orientation, they were given a pre-test. And after the pre-test, the experimental group was exposed to the video lessons, while the control group was exposed to the K to 12 learning modules. And after the exposure to the different teaching approaches, both groups were given a pre-test, a post-test, and then the post-test and the pre-test scores were analyzed directly. Now, I will be presenting the results of the study. As observed in Table 1, learners from both groups have low pre-test results, which is presumed to their lack of prior knowledge to the different topics posed on the test. It was their first time to come across the following topics in the subject, understanding culture, society, and politics. The overall mean scores for both groups have pointed out that they have not yet acquired the basic and fundamental skills, knowledge, and concepts in the subject. Furthermore, it is presumable that both groups are comparable in terms of their competence in the subject, understanding culture, society, and politics. The results of the pretest are in lieu to the meaningful learning theory of Ausubel that shows in order to learn meaningfully, one must be able to assimilate the previously learned concepts. In the case of the experimental and control group of the study, both groups did not have prior knowledge of the topics in the subject, which is then resulted to low scores in the pretest. Nonetheless, the post-test results of both groups have showed an increase in the mean scores of the learners. Comparing the mean for both groups, the experimental has a higher score compared to the control group. Although the performance level of the experimental group is only satisfactory, but it is higher compared to the results of the control group, which has only attained a fairly satisfactory rating. The results in Table 1 have clearly indicated that a higher percentage of learners in both groups had improved in their academic achievement, which is in favor to the experimental group. Most of the learners in the experimental group has attained a very satisfactory rating and only a very few has remained in the did not meet expectations level. However, in the control group, only very few has reached the very satisfactory level and most of them remain in the did not meet expectations. Table 2 represents the motivation of grade 12 learners in two groups. Results clearly indicate that the mean of the experimental group is 3.47, that is higher compared to the mean score of the control group, which is 2.88. This specifies that the experimental group has high motivation compared to the control group, who has an average level. The standard deviation of the control group manifests a more dispersed result since it has a higher value compared to the experimental group. It can be inferred from this result that learners are more motivated to learn through the use of video lessons in the subject understanding culture, society, and politics. In Table 5, the results show that there is a statistically significant difference in the academic achievement in understanding culture, society, and politics between the experimental and control group, which is in favor with the experimental group. In the analysis of the data, the pretest serves as a covariate which was found out not to be a significant predictor of the post-test score. It consequently indicated the equivalence of the pretest of the treatment groups. Thus, this result of the study has provided solid evidences to reject the null hypothesis of the study. In reference to the findings of the study, the null hypothesis, which states that there is no significant difference in the academic achievement in understanding culture, society, and politics, the grade 12 learn between the grade 12 learners taught using video lessons and of those learners taught using self-learning modules is rejected. Moreover, the adjusted R showed that the video lessons showed an effect to the academic achievement of the learners since its value is less than the original R value. It can be inferred that there was a significant improvement in the learner's academic achievement, which is in favor of the experimental group. The results of the study showed a significant difference in the motivation in understanding culture, society, and politics between the experimental and control group, which is in favor to the experimental group. The data in the table has revealed that learners' motivation in understanding culture, society, and politics obtained a p-value of 0.003, which is less than the 0.05 significance level. Hence, the null hypothesis, which states that there is no significant difference in the level of motivation in understanding culture, society, and politics between the grade 12 learners taught using video lessons and of those learners taught using self-learning modules, is rejected. These are the conclusions and recommendations of the study. The use of video lessons has enabled the learners to retain information better, experience interactive lessons, and acquire meaningful learning experiences amid the pandemic despite some technological constraints. Hence, the use of video lessons is vital in enhancing the academic achievement of grade 12 learners in a subject understanding culture, society, and politics. Number two, video lessons provide high motivations to learn in the subject understanding culture, society, and politics. Thus, it allowed the learners to become more engaged and involved in the learning process, providing enriched learning experiences. The incorporation of video lessons into classroom instruction amid the pandemic may be given emphasis so that teachers and administrators can provide supplemental learning materials to the learners that is geared towards providing meaningful learning experiences to the learners. Teacher can use the video lessons to increase learners' motivation, especially in times of suspension of face-to-face classes. Teachers and administrators must undergo trainings to enhance their multimedia skills, for these are essential in coping the different demands of the 21st century. These are the major references of the study. The integration of technology within the classroom is inevitable since the educational landscape is moving towards an unprecedented technological advancement. Future-proofing the educational system through technological advancement is a proactive approach to unforeseen circumstances. That would be the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.